Alrighty. Welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. Friday Fun Day. Welcome to all of you. Hope you're all doing well. Without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Let's have a good one, guys. To end the week. It's been a really solid week. As always, guys, good morning, good afternoon, very good evening, no matter where we are around the world. And I hope you're all having a good one. It is a Friday. So Friday Fun Day, anything could happen on a Friday. Hopefully you guys have had a good week. It's been a rock steady solid week for me, to be honest. It's been 3-0 with one big win back on Tuesday. So Wednesday I think that was, actually. Either way, been a fantastic week. Looking to see how we can end it today. Gold, yeah, potentially we could have an option shortly, so I'll get into the analysis. But anyway, guys, you know the drill. YouTube, you guys make sure to smash that like button. TikTok, smash that screen for me. In the meantime, if you do have any charts or questions or anything you'd like to make mention of, feel free to send those into the chat and I will get to those shortly. Anyway, guys, let's quickly take a look at the news to see what we have, if anything, scheduled for today's proceedings. And what we can see is there's got construction PMI coming up for the pound a little bit later on. Not really sure if well, actually I won't be on for that. Sorry, that's well after the stream. Anyway, that's something to be wary of. Listed as orange folder news here. I would assume on financial juice and a few other providers would be red folder. So it could definitely have an impact on the pound pairs. And obviously a big day, huge day when it comes to trading the US dollar and therefore gold as well, with unemployment rate plus the big one, non-farm payrolls. So big day for the US dollar, big day for gold. Makes it very tricky in my opinion. Usually on days like today, trading gold can be quite difficult, but anyway, we're far off the news, so we'll see what we can come up with. Alright guys, so let's get stuck into the analysis and let's take a look at the gold. And we are still, after that pullback yesterday, we are still forming a bullish candle. We have pulled back quite significantly though within our own candle, so that is, I would consider to be a weak bullish candle. So based on that, what I'm going to be looking for is once again what levels we may have in between this candle on the more so the 30-minute, but at the 4 hour as well. If we were to pop back down to them, I'd want to see price respect those levels in order for us to look for a buy to head back up. However, if we begin to break below those levels, seeing that we have quite a big rejection on the current weekly candle, I would also entertain some possible sell entries based off that. Onto the daily time frame, and look at that for a whipsaw candle. Off the back of a lot of news about, we've had a bearish candle closing with a long wick in either direction. So based off that, very difficult in terms of current price action. We did tap into some resistance and bounce right off it at 30.55 region. We are still technically bullish in structure. We don't have much of an upper wick in a daily, so let's just mark that in to begin, and we'll see what we've got above that level. Onto the 4 hour, it is a 4 hour resistance, kind of lines up with it. What we can see on the 4 hour is that we are technically bearish. We have created the high here, we have closed below the swing point just here. So the 4 hour is bearish. We've got the weekly and the daily as bullish, but with previous daily closing bearish. So looks like we're going to have options in either direction potentially on gold. So on the 30-minute, and that has respected what I would call the last significant lower high just here. You're gonna have 2 consecutive candles pulling back in the opposite direction this swing, but it does definitely resemble a swing to me. Maybe on other brokers, it may be 2 consecutive bullish candles in a row just here. So calling it bearish. So therefore, my bias is neutral here on gold today. So I could pretty much look for trades wherever I see fit in either direction. So I'm gonna use that level as a resistance, and what I can see is we're kind of just trickling up to it. However, above it, first of all, clean traffic to the left. So obvious entries for me will be above 31.20, pretty much that level there. We begin to pop above that point. The resistance formed towards the end of yesterday's candle, the closure of yesterday's candle. Then we do have clean trap to the left, and that, in my opinion, could be us breaking again. We're breaking resistance form within the weekly candle after forming support. We break that resistance, a good chance it could come up to 31.30, that sort of region. Now, further options, we are potentially forming and closing a bullish engulfing candle. It's been a bit of a slow, weary trickle up, to be honest. What I've noticed that every strong bullish candle closure, we've had pretty much a straight pullback. So normally when I'd have a pause like what we have here, and finally the candle was engulfed a couple candles later, normally I look for a limit order. But in this sort of situation, what I think is best to do is wait for, first of all, the confirmation of the engulfing closure, wait for a low wick to form, and then get in with the momentum as it begins to break the high, potentially targeting this 31.12 sort of region. One issue with that would be, once again, the big one that we've had pretty much all week on gold: stop loss. If you're looking at a 50 pip stop loss, not even sure if you barely got the 1-to-1, which is not that big an issue. But I'm likely gonna have to wait for the lower wick on the new candle once again to form in order to give me an option to look for to give me a better stop loss. Otherwise, guys, price just rips up. I'm going to be looking for rejection of this 31.16, 31.18, 31.20 sort of level, and I would be looking for my options to take a sell from that point. Once again, structure being bearish on 30 and technically the 4 hour, the sells from that point would also suffice. Furthermore, within the current daily candle, we have formed support on the 15-minute time frame at around this 30.97.59. If we do begin to pop below that point there, we do have margin of around 40 pips potentially down towards 30.93. So that also could provide potential entry, likely on a closure below retest continuation. So I will mark that in. So sells below that point there. And one more option for me would be, if we do pop back down to this support, make a clean move down, even if we were to pop below it only to close back above, we could potentially look for our options to buy back above the support just here at 30.98, towards that 3100 flat sort of region. So that is the gold. Potentially some early entries. What I would suggest is, it all depends as well on how your week has been. If you've had a good week and you're willing to take a punt on this potential entry, not a bad confirmation. I mean, it's a solid confirmation as far as the bullish engulfing candle, but bear in mind it's against the structure of 4 hour M30 and against the actual formation of the daily candle. The daily could potentially just be pulling back within itself to form another resistance to head back down. So gonna wait for a strong closure above, and if I am to look for an entry, being a Friday, low risk entries, it's been a fantastic week. I have a little bit of a profit. I'll be looking for a potential entry after it's formed low wick and begins to break the high of the cows candle, which on IC markets is 31.0792, so about 31.0812 is a potential entry point. So waiting for the closure, guys, and we're waiting for a lower wick, and we're going to need to use that for the stop loss. Now, the lower wick needs to be significant enough for me to trust it. If it's just a few pip of a lower wick, I don't trust it. Knowing gold could easily just wick back, you know, and take you out instantly. So would like for it to tap into that bearish candle's high. That would give us about a 18 to 20 pip, 30 pips, 22 pip stop roughly by looking at it. We need an upper wick too, guys. What do you know? We don't have it, and we've wicked down prior to wicking up, so no entry. No entry. The little difference from Tuesday here was the fact that it was a Wednesday. We had a similar scenario, but what happened was the following candle popped up about a pip or two, and then it popped down. So what I said to my team later on was, by doing so, what that suggests is that was perhaps the last remaining little liquidity that maybe didn't get triggered in, obviously, until just that very closure, and then it flipped back down. And if it broke its own high again at that point, it was more valid Whereas in this case, we've popped down a tad, we've popped back up. Not as probable. Look, let's look at it. We are creating a lower wick just now. Let's measure what sort of margin we do have if we begin to break our own high. About 30 pips. Let's measure stop loss. So far 18. So the high is 31.0988. So 31.1008. You're getting in about 10 pips above what the original position would have been. You're already looking at 26 pips stop. Let's quickly look at a 5 minute, see if we can gather some confluence on the 5 minute. Create the high. Would be really nice for its pullback to create a high low, but the issue is going to be at that point stop loss placement. All right, small entry if anyone is considering it above this candle's high. I don't mind it. It's again, it's a Friday, very low risk. If you've had a good week, I think it's not a bad punt. $31.10.08. And the stop loss would have to be this candle's low. So if it begins to drop a little bit more, then I'm not going to trust it, because we don't, the fact of the matter is we don't have that much margin to that resistance and then up to the 4 hour level itself. So it really needs to begin to flip very surely without pulling back much further. In the meantime, guys, let me quickly say good day. I haven't even looked at GJ. I will quickly do so just to see if there is any entries. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it could have been possible entries a little bit earlier on. Ooh, up to 15 doesn't look that bad. Some of you may even be in GJ at the moment. Well done if you are. Anyway, let's keep an eye on gold. Oops. Wrong button. Alright, YouTube, first of all, welcome to you as always. Appreciate your support. Deloki, Beats, same faces, same names. Franco, Carl, Steve, you guys rock. Thank you very much. Members, I've sent you a link if you are interested. To everyone on TikTok, thank you to all the new followers already. To the rest of you, welcome once again. So all right, so we've pulled back and we're starting to flip again. NHMTDSS, thank you, welcome to you. Slow, full port Friday. Full margin that you might be referring to. Jack, good to see you again too, my friend. Welcome. Gold buys, Connor. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. It's a little bit volatile at the moment, popping up and down. Fed Power, good to have you on stream again. 3100. Nice one, mate. Nice one. Connor, you bought one lot in gold. Nice one. Jack, I'm looking for a potential buy if it flips and breaks zone high here. It's a bit of a riskier entry. I am fully aware of that, so I'm lowering the risk. Because the previous count does not have an upper wick. But I'm willing to take a small risk. I've had a good week. Stop loss I've got below the entry candle. So it's just I'm looking for just a quick scalp. Otherwise stop loss is going to be way too wide. Connor on 1 hour time frame, it's not topping pre tapping, I think you mean. Yeah, that's not a problem. Connor, yeah, that's not a bad piece of advice, to be honest, because gold can just rip your small account to shreds very quickly if you're not careful with it. All good, Jack? Yeah, Connor could do. Jack, see, oh, sorry. Someone's sending messages, you're sending messages within the chat to each other, that's alright. Just missed the dude, this is the M15. And I'm about to remove the order if this drops much lower, because I'm just gonna, the stop loss is gonna be way too wide again. Alright, let's just measure it. Currently about 20, oh, it's dropping more. Yeah, stop loss isn't great anymore. We're looking at about a 32 plus pip stop, and where we could potentially tap into and reject, we've got 30. Yeah, it's dropping too far, guys. And it's done this all day, I've noticed. Well, in the most recent move to the upside anyway, it's what it's been doing. You've had an engulfing candle, then it really pulls back and we have a strong bearish candle closure. The really risky entry here is a limit order at the height of the bearish candle. But again, based off what I've seen throughout the afternoon, just when I've had a quick look on the charts from my phone, of all places, we've had impulse, strong closure to the downside, eventually another impulse followed by another strong closure to the downside. So that's why I'm a little bit put off looking for a limit order, and I'm just going to remove the buy stop for the time being, guys. No longer valid in my opinion. Stop loss is too wide, and it doesn't really have the momentum by the looks of it at the moment. It's just a slow trickle back up. So let me quickly read the rest of the questions and I will have a look at GJ in a minute. Connor, you got capital to trade gold. Look, if you're confident, and you have the patience and discipline, then yeah, I think you could trade gold on a large or a small account. It doesn't make it more, obviously you get a little bit more of a return on it with more capital, but you need to be comfortable in trading the instrument, because it does move a lot more volume than the currency pairs. What name? Red and green indicators? What are you talking about? The candles? Sruba 601. There's no indicators on this chart. Can I trade the 1 hour time frame and tell you what the market doing daily? Yeah, 1 hour is a strong confirmation. Again, I always say you guys do what works for you. I do what works for me. 15 and 30, even a 5 at times is good enough. I think it's market manipulation potentially. Sometimes when the market wants to track buys, it drops pips to gain pips. Yeah, it grabs liquidity. That's why I look for limit orders at times. The back of engulfing, knowing that likely we're going to pull back to grab some more orders before we head back up. Connor, you're a holder. All good. Just missed 2. Market not good today. Yeah, it looks very choppy on gold at the moment. Jack, don't want to get another strike in here, but is it in AUD or cheaper in UK? It's in US dollar. It's in US dollar, so yeah, so it works out. It's all relevant though, I suppose, isn't it? Cost of living that around the world, but yeah, it's in US dollar, mate. 7 mood 316. This caused. Not entirely sure what you mean by that. Nicole, what is your time frame? This is the 15-minute Juba asked how you mark the red and green. Oh, this thing. That's the risk to reward indicator. So long and short position up in the projection tool in the corner here. All good, Nicole. Yeah, I've had a look at gold. Connor, market possible to reach good high. More buyers are on potentially. Yep, so that's it, Shuba. Will or Tega? Nothing at the moment. Was looking for a buy, but I'm not trusting it just yet. Alrighty, let's look at GJ. Let's look at GJ. Kyle, good day to you. Bar crew, that's exactly right. You guys you're always there for me. I appreciate it. Alright, so GJ. Similar to gold at the moment. So looking at it though, the weekly is forming a very, very strong bearish candle. So based off that, I am more inclined to look for options to sell it today. Either upon a pullback to previous resistance to look for further resistance to form to head back down, or potentially upon continuation below the current weekly candle's low. Unless we've got a catalyst perhaps on the 30-minute, which if that is bullish, I may consider options to buy it. Daily, we do have counter probabilities to the downside, which is, in my opinion, a little bit of a little bit more importance than the actual structure itself. These days, I prefer to look towards the candles themselves more than the structure in the daily, and also obviously what levels we're at. So we do have some room to the downside. Seeing we have that lower high, lower low, there is not really much of a need if we were to continue bearish to pull back up and break our own high. If we do so, there's a chance that we could make a slightly deeper pullback into that previous daily candle. On the 4 hour, we are bearish on the 4 hour as well. So we've got the daily structure being bearish. We've got the 4 hour structure. Daily flipped only bearish yesterday, by the way. 4 hours also bearish. So I know my bias is going to be to the downside. So once again, the only way I would consider buying it today is if I do have some sort of catalyst, and that has to be now on the M30 time frame. Just going to mark in support resistance just below previous daily, current daily low. Sorry, got some pretty clean traffic on the 4 hour below 190.235. So that looks like a potential area to get involved in some continuation sells. Now onto the 30. All right, no catalyst to buy it just yet. Catalyst will come once we flip the structure, which will be once we close above the daily high. However, for the sake of it, there is much cleaner traffic above 192.283. So what I would be looking for is based off that weekly candle. Once again, the strength of it, I'd just be looking for GJ today to form resistance upon the pullback to sell either from level A here at 191.50, level B 191.80, or level C 192 to 192.20. Those would be the levels I'd be looking at on GJ for rejection. So I'm just going to put sells below and you guys get the picture. So it's just really anywhere on the pullback for a sell, whether it be at this point or if it pops up higher or even higher. I'll be looking for my catalyst to sell it. Further option, as I mentioned before, would be below the support here to the left hand side, below that 190.235. We have some very clean traffic to the left in line with the structure and bias, and the weekly would be creating yet another lower low after previously making a bit of a pullback off the 4 hour support. So that will look like so roughly, and very simple analysis that being on GJ, that is what I'd be looking for. Very strict with the rules. So the preference at this stage is probably gold, but we are really struggling. 15 is about to close and we're closing yet again. Relatively strong bearish, as we've done every other time we've looked to made a move up. Smarties, if you include the break-evens, which none of the other streamers do, so that's why I don't. Yeah, go on to what's his name's what's the dude's name? I can't remember his name, but he doesn't include break-even. None of them include break-evens. I was the only one actually did, but then I thought, fuck it, you know, if they're not doing it, why should I do it? So yeah, including break-evens, but if you were to look at theirs, including break-evens, they're looking at about 60% roughly. So I'm still way ahead, way ahead. What have I missed? Will a Tega start in 31? Oh, yeah, I'm not too sure what that means, to be honest. What you mean for that? Gotta buy aftermarket. Again, I'm preferring the buys, so I'm in agreement, but nothing yet at the moment. Now, could I look for sells? Potentially. We'll have to wait and see. A little bit of water to flow on the bridge before I would consider selling it. Color market just retracing the game or buys. Yeah, and potentially, who knows. Small emojis, sometimes I just want to give up on trading. I knew that feeling about 5-6 years ago. Trust me, I knew it. Lucky I didn't give up. That's... I know what you're talking about, my friend. On Gold and GJ. GJ potentially rejecting the current level, which isn't ideal. Would have preferred for it to reject a bit higher up. But once again, we may consider what sort of options we might have. Looking at it, I don't have much of a catalyst for me. I don't have anything golfing on the 15. I don't have a minus support on the 15. It will have a, by the looks of it, a 30-minute candle closing bearish. But it will be closing with a higher low, which doesn't give me probabilities to the downside. So we'll wait and see how this counter closes. Okay, Mr. You sell on 15-minute time frame. Oh yeah, just yeah, you did, my friend. Liquidity candle too, broke high, now broke low, and look at it since. All good, mate, all good. You know not to stress it. The other opportunities. GU at support. AU, I don't even want to look at it. It's the only major that's going down basically against the US dollar. For whatever reason. There's no news or anything too, so must have been something with China. That's all I can figure. Maybe if the tariffs, I have no idea. We cop it here in Oz, the worst. Good news goes down. Shit news, it completely shits the bed. Connor, just Gold USD. No, just USD. I don't trade gold AUD or pound or anything like that. Connor, tariffs hit Japan, did they? Oh, JPY. Yeah, okay. Maybe the yen index, the yen basket, possibly. That's what you're referring to. Jordan made 1k on S&P. Good work. Caught the bottom. Hold up. Gold coming back down again. That's why you need to wait for a low wick to form. Looks like we could be heading back down to support, so not necessarily a bad thing. see NAS. Wow, that's really shooting the bed at the moment. About the FTSE, let's have a look at that. That's also seems to be in quite a strong downtrend. Let me do some analysis on it. Weekly, seeing it is an indice in session, weekly is forming strong bearish. We are out of support though, so irrespective of the strength of the candle, you got to be wary at what's to the left. We're at support, which was previous resistance, so not going to necessarily be the easiest place to sell it from. Daily structure is bearish, candle probabilities are bearish. This is marking the current daily low. If we were to begin to break it, and we are starting to pop below that support slash resistance. 4 hour is also bearish. Yeah, so looks like I'd be looking for the sells, either upon the pullback or below the daily low, the support, the 4 hour. Seeing it is a very strong level of support, I just keep it in deep on as the 4 hour level and look for a closure below. Bounced off it multiple times. You definitely need that closure below the retest continuation for any possible entries, in my personal opinion, on FTSE. Otherwise, what I'd be doing is just waiting for the price to pull back. There's no rush, guys. Pull back up towards the 4 hour resistance, grab liquidity from that level and look for some sell options. Yeah, so buys above that 3100 is what could potentially look at too, guys. Just needing that zone up a little bit. Thank you to, once again, new followers. Guys, smash that screen for me if you could. SFX wants to take a look at BTC. I can quickly take a look at that for you. Alright, so weekly still is bullish. Does have a lower high, lower low to the previous candle. Massive liquidity wick from the upside. Not a great deal of margin below it, down to the actual zone itself, around at 80k, 80,700 sort of region. Daily is definitely bearish in structure. But what we do have is that previous daily closing back bullish at support. So based on asking yourself where we're at, and also with the fact the previous daily did close with a long liquidity wick to close back bullish. If we were to begin to break it, that is a potential sign of reversal. The issue to the upside is got some resistance at 85, around that 85k region. 4 hour structure to me appears bearish. However, no, it won't flip back until these highs. Looks a lot like GJ yesterday in the M30. Oops. Alright. So that's your 4 hours zones. We're just not in 30. Once again, we are technically bearish in a 4 hour. So the bias is at this rate looking like it's towards neutral. You got 30-minute being bullish. All right, so based off that, look for buys and sells. Let's just need in these zones a little bit. And first potential entry could be on a quick scalp above the current daily candles high. Above that high, we got a little bit of margin up to 680, 700. Just a quick little scalp. The likelihood though is that if you were to wait for a closure above, it could push too deep into the little bit of margin you do have and then it become invalid. So if that was to be the case, I'd be looking for rejection. If we were to pop back below the resistance at the daily high, there could be options to sell it. Further options, if we did pop back down to the support here at 82.70, make a clean move down, I'd look for my signals in price action to potentially buy it from that point. And if we were to close below it, we've got some clean traffic to the left, I would also be looking for options to sell it Closure below, retest, continuation. 15-minute may be sufficient enough on Bitcoin. And the other option is if we reject now, I'd like for it to pop up to 83,370, reject. If we form support below and we begin to break it, there's a lot of arrows there, but that's pretty much what I'd be looking at. Trade the range, or once we leave the range, look for trades either side of it. Bruce, good morning to you, mate. Hope you're well. SFX, okay. Not a bad level to sell from. One thing you do have is a liquidity count on 15, which is a good sign. So it's broken the high, it's now broken low. Based off that, in my opinion, there'd be a higher probability that it could continue down. But my one concern is that it still could pull up a little bit higher. It's to retest the resistance at the daily high. So that's the preference would be for me, for it to tap into that zone, reject, form support, begin to pop below, close below to support, and that, in my opinion, would be a higher probability entry. GJ going the opposite way at the moment. Still got just under 3 minutes this current candle. And gold looks like it's coming back down towards support. That's all good. Bye, man. Good day to you, mate. Hope you're well. SFX, nice one. Yeah, I don't personally trade fair value gaps, but I know what you're talking about. So I'm assuming you want it to come back down towards this 82, 80 sort of region. If that's the, I'm not sure what time frame you're based on though, but on 15, that's what I can see. Your prediction, gold will make a low to make a higher high. Yeah, it's what it's been doing throughout the day. But again, anything can happen, so wait and see. To my team, I've just updated the Discord a little bit. I've just sent the trade journal section into a new part of the VIP. Just under the accountability section now for anyone who is wondering. Murat D, DAX. Also seems to be in a fair pullback, or was at all-time highs not that long ago. Alright, so the weekly, strong bearish, and it looks like it has some room to the downside. So once again, based off that, unless I have a catalyst on the M30, I would only, seeing it's a Friday, only consider selling it. Now that may be either at a resistance formed on the minor time frames within the weekly candle, on rejection of those levels, or upon continuation below the current weekly candle's low, unless once again I have a catalyst which may present on the 30-minute time frame. Onto the daily, structure on the daily time frame is also technically bearish, so we do have counter probabilities to the downside. Below the current daily candle's low, do have a little bit of margin, not a great deal, to the next support on the daily time frame. Seeing we closing a long liquidity wick to the upside on the previous daily candle, usually that would suggest to me that if we were to continue bearish, we don't necessarily need to pull back all that far into that previous daily candle. So based off that, from experience on the charts, around the open will be a good level to potentially reject. We'll see if there's any resistance on the 30-minute time frame, perhaps at that level. and we could look for some options to sell it from there. So bearish for counter probabilities to the downside, 4 hour. That is also, well, lines up with the zone in 4 hour, that previous daily, sorry, the open of the daily candle, previous daily candle. 4 hours also bearish. What levels do we have to the left? Once again, we've got that zone, which is the same zone obviously as the daily. So a little bit below the 4 hour support, the current daily candle's low. To have a little bit of margin to the downside. As far as the resistance, we'll bother it on the 30. All right. So definitely would be considering sells below the low. Upon continuation, whether that be on a 30 or 15. And I'd also be considering some sells shortly. You've got a minor support formed below some resistance here to the left, which we are currently respecting. The open of that previous daily candle does line up some levels here to the left. So to me, that would be a very good level for price to potentially pull back to grab some more liquidity from and look for options to sell it from really anywhere below 21.80 if the option did present. So you're looking for a price action catalyst from that level or a potential option to sell it. Let me quickly look at a 30. Yeah, so look, as an early sort of catalyst, what I want to see just now, if we did not close below the 15-minute support, is minimum a 30-minute bearish engulfing candle. What would make it an even higher probability trade would be if we close below the 15-minute minor support, wait for the following candle crane upper wick, and at that point there's a high probability that we could continue to the downside. So in my opinion, the preferable option would be to wait for a closure below 21,630 on the 15-minute time frame. Wait for price to pull back and retest that zone on the following candle with the upper wick, and I would look for options upon a break of the candle's low. Otherwise, look for sells from higher up, again below 21.80 on the pullback, or on continuation below the current daily candle's low. And that is my opinion of DAX. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully you can make a few dollars from it later. Gold coming back down to support. Smarties, do you know what pivot points are? I've seen some traders use them as targets. Look, I know roughly of them, but yeah, I couldn't really explain it, to be honest. I've heard of it. They're basically swings in a market. How they determine what a pivot point is, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure if it's similar to the way I do with multiple counter pullbacks consecutively in the opposite direction to the underlying move prior to it. But look, it could be a really good way to trade. I'm not sure. I've never tested it out, to be honest, to tell you. Yes, Forex price always retest back to key levels and like to get in on a second rejection. Okay, on BTC, I'm assuming you're referring to. That's fair enough. That's some good analysis. That's, you're, you know, aware of that, and why not trade it if it works for you? King Williams, g'day to you. Fareed, good morning to you. You're buying UJ? Okay, 145.50. Okay, what, you've got a limit order, or you're in a buy from 145.50. Looks pretty good if you are. I mean, you're well in profit. Not a bad entry point from the support here. Look at 1 hour, very nice support zone. Yeah, I mean, looks good on a 30 as well in the minor time frame. So yeah, it's a potential pullback level. GJ has no idea what it wants to do at the moment. All right, let's neaten this zone up a little bit. Let's drag across the most recent price action. Let's just measure this. What at the moment would stop loss be? If this, oof, the 15, it's fairly wide stop loss. Still got just under 9 minutes left for it to move as well. It's formed a liquidity candle as well. We've broken a high, now breaking a low. Based off that, there is a high probability we'll end up pretty strong bearish. Joshua in a buy, nice one. 911 gold, yep, it's just pulling back. Oh, you're in sells, okay, nice one. Nice work, mate, good work. Very strong rejection on gold, 30.85. I'm expecting to move down, then continuation up. Yeah, back to retest the previous daily low, roughly. Okay. Just bear in mind, guys, there's so much news about today, and often on days like today, gold can be very tricky. To me, my opinion of GJ is this rate. Well, I'm all about sells today, off the back of the strength of that weekly candle and the fact that the bias is all to the downside at the moment. So if this 15 was to close below the support, potentially could look at a cheeky little scalp down to the daily low yet again. The issue once again is going to be stop loss, and I'm not prepared to roll with a 38 pip stop based off the 15-minute candle on GJ, so I need to wait for the following candle to create a decent upper wick and trust that. It doesn't look bad. You do have that previous 30 closing back a doji bearish candle, which does it is a sign of potential reversal. We have tapped into some support here to the left as well, but it needs to close definitely below, because if it doesn't, then we could just be stuck in consolidation. So what would give me a confirmation that maybe we're ready to head back down to the low is if we close below of that bullish candle. I want to make sure we've cleared that low, totally wiped out the buyers from that previous candle. Kamal, not sure how to pronounce the name, but thank you very much for sharing a live, appreciate it. Farid and P and Pal, it will be a mess. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's my concern. It not often is on these sort of days. SFX, BEC doing what I said. Beautiful 8 years marketing experience. Nice one. Yeah, nice one, man. Never really looked at the 5-minute on Bitcoin. Forming some nice structure though. If it closed below, it'd be, yeah, pretty good indication it could continue down. Line architecture, good day to you. Welcome again. Nicole, what is this pair? This is more back to gold. I was on GJ before. Pound yen. Great, but if you can catch the right entry and manage risk, where you can make some good profit, well, that's exactly right. Can, but very risky. And I do not suggest to trade the news. It's just not worth it. I don't call on GG. Is it a sell? I'm preferring a sell, but I need closure below that horizontal there as the confirmation based on the 15. Farid, yeah. I always do on a Friday anyway, to be honest. 911, do I think we can enter gold now? Personally, there's no confirmation for me to enter it. If you're looking for a pure level for it to tap in, look for the 3100 level. To me, that'd be a better spot if you're just going to place a limit order. Reason being, if it's a psychological round number, it has recently and previously formed support at it. There's likely going to be orders in either direction at it, and you'll be taking it based off the fact that you are still pretty bullish in the weekly. I mean, the higher time frames are still overall in a big uptrend, but we do have the 4-hour and the 30-minute being bearish, with the daily candle printing bearish off the back of yesterday's bearish candle. So that is the concern. That's why I'm preferring to wait for a confirmation from that level. But otherwise, I just chill, and if you really want to get involved, that's the level I feel is the better option. Farid, I trade after NFP and watch what happens when Pal speaks. Okay. Yeah, that's like God knows what time in the morning that is for me. I'm not up for that. That is very late. SFX NFP thing is BTC has held weekly level for time now and month filled fair value gap. She's going to the Minsky. Yeah, potentially. It has remained above that 80k. I mean, it continues to bounce off it. Which is quite important for it to do, in my opinion, to continue. If it is to continue up and potentially create a new all-time high or retest the high, it's at a pretty critical level. If it drops below at 76, so it has tapped into, well, not quite actually. Drops below 76, then 72 is on the card, 73, potentially all the way back down towards that 65 region. Alright, 50 seconds, guys. GJ has to close. The simple rule I've created, there is no emotions when you trade this way. Simple rule, if this is to be a valid entry for me, is this candle in the next 40 seconds needs to close below that bullish candle. No ifs, buts, or maybes. It's black and white. That's simple. If it does, then I need to wait for the new candle to create an upper wick. And if it creates a decent enough upper wick of around 15 pips or so, I can trust that if it begins to flip and break the low of our catalyst candle as a decent enough stop loss. So first things first, 10 seconds, it needs to close below. If not, no valid entry for me. Very, very simple process. No entry. If it drops, it drops. It's not my trade. And these are the types of things and rules that have worked for me now for at least the last 4 years, really consistently. And year on year, it gets better and better. Because what I do by having these rules, and I've got plenty of different rules I can use, is I eliminate emotions from the trading. Completely eliminate emotions. It almost becomes like a game of chess, I suppose. You wait for your opponent to print the move, and then you contemplate your next move. $911. I think that's a better level. 3100 flat. SFX, yeah, had I had the prior confirmation, I would have waited for it to form an upper wick. And if I had a stop loss of at least 15 pips, I would have trusted that for a quick little scalp to take it back down towards the low. It's taken me years and years to craft these rules and which one works for each sort of situation. And it's now obviously it's to the point the past few years where I just know what would be the best rule to place and to wait for to be ticked off prior to any entry on any given trade, depending on the approach and what level we're at, things like that. Looks like GJ's trying to make the move. It's all good, no problem at all. There is only one other way I would have considered getting involved there without that confirmation. And that would have been had the new candle opened up, popped straight down without an upper wick towards the low, preferably just breaking it, then waiting patiently for it to pop back up, create the upper wick. At that point there, it's going to do one or two things. It's either going to continue bullish, that would be the lowest point of the candle, you're not in the trade, you're not bothered, we end up back at resistance here. Or what it could do is, and from experience, if it is to reject, then what that suggests is it's grabbed a little bit more liquidity for it to make the move finally once it breaks its own low again. And that is one of my favorite little signals in catalyst within price action itself to look for an entry. So I didn't have it just then, but that would have been the only other way I would have considered taking that and validating that as an entry of high probability. So down before it goes up, and then it goes back down. So we got around 11 minutes until the session open. Let's see. For EJJ forms some type of inner shoulder pattern in M5. Yeah. No, I don't focus on patterns, to be honest. To me, they're lagging either way. You don't have the confirmation until it's actually made the move. So I just don't see the point in trading it when it comes to scalping, to be honest. Again, look, each their own. If you can use the tag confluence, or if anyone else can, to an entry, by all means. But for me, I don't need it, to be honest. All right, now it's popping back up to what the entry point would have been. So had I taken impulse entry, I would have been stopped out break even. Likely would have gotten to break even. I think you had about, yeah, you would have had close to TP1 for a quick scalp. Gold making a move back, all good. SFX, where would I place stop loss? So I want it to be above the entry candle. Otherwise, for a quick scalp, I mean, normally I'd prefer to use the previous candle high in this case, preferably to 30, because that gives you more ways of managing the trade based off the previous 15. But in this case, it was too wide of a stop loss, so I would have had to have trusted the entry candle itself, making a sufficient upper wick. And once it broke, it would have no need to pull back up and break its own high. And that should be, good enough area to place a stop loss. This is all documented for my team. They've got access to all this. Sean, how are you, mate? All good here. Nicole, are we selling GJ? No, I didn't get the confirmation to sell it. Bruni, what is it? This is pound yen. And this is gold. Spot gold. 911. I'd have it below the support here. I'd have it a little bit below 30.97 roughly. About a 30 pip stop. But look, it just depends, man. What is your plan for the trade? Are you trying to scalp it? Are you looking for a bit of a longer term hold, or what's the deal? Because I mean, the best place to have a buy limit at the moment will be back at the lows, in case it does wick down, and grab that liquidity from the downside before it heads back up. So if you're looking to hold it a bit longer, you might want to layer in. You might layer in at 31 flat. You might layer in at the daily, the support around the daily low, 30.94, 90.93. And if that's the case, have your stop loss around that 30.85 sort of region. But again, this is just, I don't trade like that. I trade based on price action. So I'd rather wait for the right confirmation from one of those levels to buy it. SFX nearly done for the day, but A.C.T tap, nice one. Gold tap 3100. Not quite, not on this broker. SFX, no, I'm quite the opposite, to be honest. Nah, look, I cop it. I often cop it, saying, well, says you're trading live, how come you're not taking a trade? Because there's no confirmation. I mean, I'll trade when I see fit. We have days where we're on, you know, we can get multiple entries. We have days in a row where we don't get an entry. Last week from 4 streams, we had 4 wins. We had 2 on the Thursday. The Wednesday there was no stream. And I think one of the other days there was no trade. I think it was the Friday. And this week we've had 3-0. Or 2 on stream. 1 away from the stream. So stream win rate is 10 in a row at the moment, I think. The winning streak, sorry. Yeah, so GJ, it's not looking like it. I mean, struggling. It still could definitely make the move down if anyone is in it. Stop loss should not need to pull back and break its own high. But again, for me, I didn't have the right confirmation. Let's keep it a little bit of an eye on gold. Churaba, no, not bought. Looking to buy gold at 30.86 SFX. Yeah, I think that's not a bad level, to be honest. Back near the lows. London's London open price level is being rejected. What, on gold? Are we talking about from yesterday, or London isn't open, my friend? Not yet. It is about to open. Nicole, thank you. It took me years. It took me years to master the patience part of it. To the point, like I mentioned yesterday, I almost gave up. I was so close to giving up. Some appreciate it and some just think it's boring, or I'd rather be the boring, consistent trader than the impulsive, reckless trader. What that does is place less stress on yourself, and it places less stress on your account as well. So again, by following these very simple rules, yes, it may limit my entries, but it also gives me a very high probability of being on the right side of things. And I can trade 20 times a month, 15, or sometimes 30, 35 times a month, and have a much better return than someone who's trading 70, 80 times a month. So it works for me. It's not for everyone. A lot appreciate it and a lot don't. So, but I appreciate the fact that you appreciate it. So thank you. Guraba, I don't have one. Londers, I'm expecting NY protraction daily profile. All right, You're more than entitled to your opinion. Hi, you're short soon. Fair enough. ZB. GJ buys. No, I'm about the sells today. Again, just based off what I look at, and on Friday, the strength is to the downside based off that weekly candle. I'm looking for only sell options. 30 minutes bearish as well. If the 30 was bullish, I may consider options to buy it, but we're not. So I'm I prefer the sell options. Guraba, good time to buy. What is your prediction as of today? I don't predict, I react. It's exactly what I do. Because again, I'm a scalper. I'm not a swing trader. I look for my levels where I want to get involved, and I wait for my signal and confirmation. So, look, if I was to predict, then as long as we remain above this support and below this resistance, then we may just up and down all day, and then otherwise it's a matter of breaking through that level or breaking through to the upside, and then we might trend. Not you guys can see what I'm drawing on. There we go. So again, I react, I don't predict. Londers today. Yeah, okay, with MI, yep. Line architecture, yeah, not great. Again, it comes down to things like trade management and having a plan, following your rules and things like that. Could have been avoided, I'm assuming. Not sure if it was emotional based as well, some poor decisions. But again, that just goes to show the importance of having a really solid plan and sticking to it. All right, we are just over a minute, sorry, until session open. Gold needs to rip to the downside if I am to consider sells. It needs to close below 30, 97, 60 region. And I don't have any entry for a buy. No support confirmation at all just yet, so. Nothing. GJ slowly trying to make its way down. It's all good, guys. It's a Friday. It's NFP day. Fridays are pretty chilled, in all honesty, for me usually. To the point where most Fridays I don't even bother trading. So I've streamed the last 2 Fridays. Not saying I'll stream every Friday, but who knows. SFX? Why, you mean why you trade PC 24/7? I don't trade it. So we got session open, guys. Gold is closed bearish. We're still not tapped into that 31 flat region. GJ's closed with no lower wick. Typical. Let's pop straight up. Yeah, it's not easy at the moment. SFX, that's all. Nice one, man. I love gold. Not just trading it. I just love gold. Gold and silver. I really like silver. That's my little baby, actually. Silver. Yeah, it's still looking pretty good. Bitcoin to potentially come down. Nice strong closure. Catalyst candle. Bearish and gold here. That would be a strong signal for me if I was to trade BTC. Also, at the back of that previous candle closing along liquidity wick to the upside near its low, But also off the back of this candle, if it breaks low of the previous week bearish candle, reason being it is flipped straight up, breaking the high. So now if it was to continue bullish, it would have no need to break the low of that previous candle. If it does so, then what it's likely have done is just grabbed a little bit more liquidity from the upside in order to perhaps make the move back down towards that 30 to 70 sort of region. So however, if it respects the low of that candle, then we could form support and head back up. So now the important thing, if it is to continue bearish, the fact that it's just briefly flipped to create a lower wick, it really needs to break low of that previous candle. Otherwise, this potentially could be the lowest point of the London Open candle, and we could potentially come back up to retest that 83,365 sort of region before we could reject and head back down, or continue through it and continue to the upside. GJ has pushed down. Wow, good, the retracement on gold. How's the volume? Jays, why buying? Not buying nothing at the moment. I'm not in any trades. Console. I've been starting to get into trading week 1. I've taken notes and watching vids every day. Any tips? Yeah, just show up to live streams regularly. You'll learn a lot through just by watching the live streams. I've got to be careful what I say because again, I'll get a ban. So I'm on my last warning on TikTok. I'm on YouTube at the same time, guys. SFX, you're selling down. Yep. Okay. Read that before. Long-term buys. Yep. Console, do you mind point out some of the switch in trends and breaks of structure? Yeah, I can quickly do that. Well, I see it very differently to others. So to me, this is bearish, but a lot of it probably think it's bearish because we've created a lower low here. I don't see it as because of creating that lower low. I see it being that we've flipped the structure on a closure below this swing point just here, and the impulse, the origin of the impulse to the downside, I would argue came from this area, this swing point consolidation. So therefore, I would suggest anything between this high and the lowest point of this impulse to the downside, we will remain bearish, irrespective of what's going on in between. Based off that, I have determined my structure is to the downside. If we begin to close above, I would use this whole level. At that point there, with a 30-minute closure above, that would give me a confirmation that we have flipped the structure, unless we do this in the meantime, where we approach the low, we close below, and prior to it, we've got a little swing here, a couple multiple counters pulling back in the opposite direction to the trend, so that would have to look a little like this, 2 candles in a row minimum. And that to me suggests the swing. So prior to it, obviously we'll bearish. Whoops, wrong color candle. So we made an impulse down, going from whatever, from the highs. Create a little impulse swing here, then we'll come back down to create a lower low. And now the level where the structure would need to close, well, price action to close above in order to flip the structure would now be shifted to this point here. That makes sense. And anything between this low and that high, we would remain bearish, so on and so forth. So there's different ways to look at it. That's how I look at it. I look at the higher time frame candles to see what sort of direction they're heading in. Also add, add a confluence to potential trade opportunities, things like that. So I say this pretty much every day, but it's so true. There's so many ways to skin a cat. Best thing for you to do is just rock up on the streams daily and have a pen and paper about. You'll pick up a heap from that in itself. Ask questions and things like that. $911, I think you can buy gold now. Again, look, it's up to you, mate. I don't have a confirmation to buy it. Kieran Fitz. Moment's trying to go down. In all honesty, the best thing for me anyway right now would be if it flipped and closed back above, because there is no margin to the downside below what could be a sell catalyst candle's low. Marwa, good morning to you. Welcome. One, do you think OTE strategy will work for gold? No idea, my friend. To be honest, I don't even know what you're talking about. Excuse. Yeah, honestly don't know. London's price just closed below midnight open price level. Okay, bear still in control. Popping back up. Let's see. Jaleki, be nice for the candles to close 3100 and get ready for it. Yeah, potentially. I may even consider a very impulsive 15-minute entry without much of a confirmation, because I'm willing to take a little bit of a punt on the Friday. By far and away, the better confirmation is waiting for the 30 to close back bullish. By far and away. Close back above this support, and that is a much higher probability entry. But we'll see. Just see where this 15 closes. Stops too wild, but yeah, that's an issue. That is definitely an issue. It will need to once again come down to the entry candle, as has pretty much every trade for the past week and a bit. What so? In my opinion, not just yet. I got a little bit of 5-minute resistance here as well, back above the 15 support. So once again, based off the fact that it's very impulsive, it'd be off the 15-minute time frame, without against the 30-minute. Yeah, 30-minute you still had a fair bit of volume to the downside. It would all come down to the potential entry candle, how it opens and how it forms. If it creates a decent low wick, perhaps rejecting this zone again, I may consider a little scalp based off that, using the low of the entry candle as a stop loss. Once again, it would be better if we could even close above the 5-minute resistance here. So let's just mark that in for horizontal anyway. Gazy, you're going long? Okay. Nicole, it's very risky. Look, this isn't a very high probability trade. In all honesty, this is a very impulsive trade, and it's definitely not something I would take every day of the week. But I do say that also, you know, end of the week if you had a really good week. And I could have stopped trading after Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. Was it Wednesday, guys? We members, I think it was Wednesday. We caught that massive move on gold. Tuesday, Wednesday, I remember saying after it, I really don't need to trade for the rest of the week. So, willing to risk a tiny portion of that, maybe. But no confirmation just yet. Now everyone, buy BTC now. SFX, you've just flipped your bias. You were looking for sells, and now we're looking at that. We respect the low of that candle, and look what we've done. And that was my concern, that we could still retest this level. No, Jack, I'm not. Contemplating some very impulsive gold buys. You're doing Gazy? 10x, then you're doing ACA while on Bitcoin. SFX, you broke even, jumped in buys. Alright. No, I understand. Gazy, day trading for the 9-to-5 job, it's not, definitely wouldn't be easy. And that's good. It's good that you acknowledge the fact that you're not trying to trade, you're accumulating and DCAing and that type of thing instead. Looks like gold's not going to revive at the moment, popping back down a bit. We'll wait that minute and a half and we'll see. Mr. Benny Chamberlain, how are you, brother? Welcome. Wow, what a week it's been. Had you on the stream, I think 3 days in a row. Feel blessed, my friend. Thank you. You don't hate the buys idea? Yeah, I don't. Very impulsive. But again, could be worth a little risk. In plans, not really, my friend. Same as always. How about yourself? Brandon Baxter, g'day to you again. Welcome. Hello to you. Atraf AG, welcome to you again as well. Look, I was waiting to see if this count can close back bullish, preferably above the 5-minute resistance, and then look for an impulsive entry on gold. Doesn't look like we're going to do it. So, it doesn't look like anything's going to happen at the moment, to be honest. Londoners, I won't advise anyone to go long in gold at the moment. Just my personal opinion. That's all good. None of this is advice anyway. And nor am I, because definitely not getting the right confirmation to do so. Alright guys, I'm going to get cracking because I have dinner awaiting. So I'm going to go relax, enjoy what has been a good week. I'm not going to stress about the charts, and I think you guys, up to you. If you had a good week and you've had a decent day, chill. It's a Friday. Go enjoy the great outdoors or do whatever you have to do. Anyway, guys, thank you one and all for all your support throughout the week. I do appreciate it. We'll be back on Monday, same time as today and as every other day. To my members, I will be likely on Sunday. We will be on for a sim session. I'll keep you guys posted about that. Again, I do appreciate all you for joining, and we'll trade safe. NFP to come, big day. Don't forget that. And I will catch you guys to my team. I'll catch you later. To the rest of you, I'll catch you all on Monday. Cheers, guys. Thank you for your support. I'll catch you later. Cheers.